So let's chat about symbiotic relationships within the Yogic Tarot. If we look at yoga and tarot as standalone practices, it's quite easy to see symbiotic relationships. Within tarot, we have symbiotic relationships between the cards. If we're looking at individual suits, for example, as we can see the suit as a whole, how all the cards connect with one another, and we have a progression through the cards. We then have yoga. The eight limbs is a really great example of symbiotic relationships, where the eight limbs work in unison with one another instead of in isolation to one another. And they're building and they're stacking on top of one another. We're needing one in order to have the other, and the other one helps us to enhance the one before us. So instead of this linear progression, we rather have a symbiotic web of connectivity where everything works with one another. So with the Yogic Tarot, we very much have that. If we're looking at the Yogic Tarot as a system sort of top down, we can see that web of connection and how everything works with one another. We have symbiotic relationships between the philosophies, between the cards, between the poses, and the system as a whole all fits together to have one main progressive journey. And as I said, the journey isn't linear, it's progressive, it's cyclical, and rather works on a web-based system. So the beautiful thing about that is that we can jump into that journey at any time because it's progressive and because it's web-based. We can just pop onto whatever part of the web we need to hop onto, which means that the systems then meet you where you are and what it is that you're needing. So symbiotic relationships, it helps to see the symbiotic relationships because it helps to connect the dots. So we have both yoga and tarot are very big systems. A lot of people, myself included, when I first started my physical yoga practice, I had no knowledge of the philosophical component of yoga, and how deep it actually went and how that there were eight limbs to a practice. I was just like, this just feels amazing and I can feel alignment, like it works for me. And then when I saw that, oh, this is just a part of a much bigger whole, my practice made a whole lot more sense. And like, oh, okay, I understood why it felt the way that it did. So when we have a yoga practice, we're practicing all the parts of yoga together with one another to create a whole practice. The same thing with tarot. We're working with perhaps different parts of the cards for where we are right now, but they're still working within a big whole picture, if you will. So understanding these two systems that have so many different moving parts and how these moving parts fits together is really helpful, because when we don't know how to connect the dots, we don't know a lot of time what we're doing and why we're doing what we're doing. We're just like, I think I should be doing this because it sounds like it's good for me. But when we're connecting the dots, we're seeing the bigger picture and we're understanding the why. Okay, I understand why I should be doing this, how this all fits together for me. So symbiotic relationships, let's look at two philosophies that um, show a really great example of symbiotic relationships, and that is Sthira and Sukha. And Sthira and Sukha, from a yogic perspective, are essentially the foundational philosophies to your yoga practice. You should not be getting into a pose unless you have stability and ease, Sthira and Sukha. Um, if you're not stable before you start your pose and you don't have a sense of ease, likely you're going to come into the pose, you're going to not be there for very long because you're probably going to fall out because you're not stable. And if you're not at ease, you're going to be tensing certain muscles that shouldn't be tensed. Perhaps you're over stretching something, you may be hyperextending something. So we need to have a sense of ease. This translates into everyday life where we need to have stability and ease, because life is going to throw challenges at us no matter what. Having a spiritual practice is not there to save you from having rough experiences or to make life less of a challenge or to avoid traumatic experiences. Rather, they're there as tools inside your toolbox that help you navigate those experiences with less damage and less harm, to navigate them with more equilibrium. So, Sthira and Sukha are the foundations on which we build everything else. So if we're looking at the web, there would probably be a little bit more in the center of the web and kind of filter out. But as we grow and progress in the practice, we find that we will always come back to Sthira and Sukha when we're navigating um, the lessons of the Tower or the Devil card or the Suit of Swords. We're going to come back to Sthira and Sukha because we're going to be working through some heavy stuff. And if we're not stable and solid before we start working through that heavy stuff, we're going to fall apart, we're going to crumble, we're going to struggle. And those parts of the journey are going to be way more painful than they need to be. So Sthira and Sukha from a very basic level and standing in a pose is essential. Having a spiritual practice and going through a spiritual journey and working on yourself, having stability and ease are essential. So Sthira and Sukha, we need these two things to navigate through our journey, to navigate through day-to-day life. Stability and ease within your physical realm, so stability and ease within your finances, within your home, within your health. Are you stable and at ease with your health? How does your physical body feel? Are you feeling physically stable and at ease? And if not, why not? What is throwing that out? So working with the two philosophies, we then understand how can we bring these two philosophies into our day-to-day life to maintain a better consistency of these two things. Because like I said, life's always going to throw things at you. So what Sthira does for Sukha is it creates a stable foundation on which to feel at ease. Because if we think about it from a practical perspective in day-to-day life, if we are stable, we're going to feel at ease. And if we feel at ease, we're going to feel more stable. And because we feel more stable, we're going to feel more at ease. And because we feel more at ease, we feel more stable. And so they build and they progress with one another. So we can almost have Sthira and Sukha over here and pop an infinity symbol in between the two of them, because you do have that symbiotic flow that flows between the two of them. They're progressive. The one builds the other one up. And this progressiveness and the symbiotic relationship that we have between these two philosophies really does expand out to the rest of the Yogic Tarot system, where you have that symbiotic relationship. Sthira and Sukha will filter into almost every component of the Yogic Tarot system, because we don't have those two things, we're going to struggle. So again, with that symbiotic relationship of these two work together, but these two working together in unison aids us in working with other parts and components. So being able to see and understand the symbiotic relationships and how things tie in together and how these moving parts fit together really is helpful, because it makes the system a lot simpler, and it makes working with the system a whole lot more beneficial. You're getting more out of the system that way. So when you're working with individual cards, that's perfect, but also consider how other aspects from other cards and philosophies perhaps either build a foundation for that card, or bring a new perspective to that card, or perhaps a different teaching to that card. So think about the different symbiotic relationships between the cards and between the philosophies. When you're working with the cards and having that understanding of the symbiotic relationships, it really does give you a much bigger perspective. It gives you such a much bigger picture of what it is that you're actually doing, the type of work that you're doing, and what it is that you're looking to, where it is that you're looking to go with that work. So there's quite a few benefits to seeing and understanding those symbiotic relationships, and seeing that bigger web connectivity between the system. There really are some really great benefits to seeing those. So have a poke around the symbiotic relationships, see how they all fit and connect to one another. You can look at the two systems standalone, look and see how the different parts of yoga fit together. We explore the 8 limbs and understand, like, how do these parts all fit together? How does one benefit the other? unpacking the tarot as well, fiddle around with the cards and see how do they fit together. How does this card help me understand that card? So work with the symbiotic relationships, and when we start to see symbiotic relationships within a spiritual practice, it helps us to see symbiotic relationships in day-to-day life as well, because there are symbiotic relationships and connectivity and connection points that are out there. And a lot of times we're just not attuned to them. So we get another added benefit of looking for symbiotic relationships. So I hope that helps. I hope that gives a slightly deeper understanding to working with the yogic tarot system. And like I say, explore the symbiotic relationships. They really are something helpful to look at.